So what I would like to share with you today is, first of all, framing the issue of the tension between the global and the local forces on teacher education. Then I would like to briefly describe a little bit the Stanford Teacher Education Program, which serves as an example for what I'm going to talk about. And finally, I will try and lay out the principles that guide our work, some of the principles that guide our work, and that we hope can be helpful for you as you think about teacher education programs in your own countries. So the professional preparation of teachers has become a worldwide topic of conversation. There is increased pressure and increased demand for accountability for teachers, for schools, and for their work from both public and educational institutions. That's one of the forces globally. Another global reality is that the student population all over the world is getting more and more diverse in the public system. And by diverse, I mean not only racial and ethnic diversity, but also socioeconomic diversity and linguistic diversity. In many of our schools all over the world, kids come to the school and are not fully proficient in the language of instruction, whatever that be. Another global force is a push, we hope, a push for making teaching a true profession. I'm sure there are more. On the other hand, we also need to consider the local context. And the local context, of course, is whatever the political, social, and cultural expectations and norms are that people live by in the different places, the economic conditions, and then, of course, the status of teaching itself in the different countries. So I know that someone, I'm not sure who, came up with this interesting word called globalization, which tries to combine both global and local. And one of the findings that I think is getting more and more intense in the literature is that the strive for professionalization locally might lead to isomorphism, to making teacher education or teaching the same in both the structure, the curriculum, and the professional standards for teacher education programs. My question to you, and I guess you will be able to respond to that question, so we'll take a 1-minute pause, a half-minute pause, to ask you whether you think whether this strive for professionalization, is it a good thing? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it both? Or are you indifferent?
Can you tell
so now we wait?
The link? Yeah. We made the link available.
Oh, we made the link available in the chat box, so you can actually vote, and we will see whether we get some votes. Do we wait for a few minutes? For half 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
Okay.
See if,
so what do you think? What do you think here? What do you all think?
So,
is it positive? Is it negative? That everything will be the same. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Both good and bad? Indifferent?
It's good at some point because then people can share some of their experience and yeah.
Both. Okay, you're on the both side. All right.
Yeah, but it seems that most of the people are saying positive.
Positive? Yeah. Most people are saying positive? Okay. All right. So, shall I continue?
And some of them are single.
Oh, and some, okay. So, Luana tells me that Most people have the thumbs up for this and positive, and some people say both. Okay, all right. The other proposition that I put up is that local context influences how things are run in practice. And I'm not asking the question because, you know, whether that is positive or negative doesn't matter. It really just is. So we're not worried about that. So if that is the case, then if we talk about these forces, then my perspective is that we cannot transport or export full models from place to place. I'm really not into educational imperialism. So what I think we can share is to look at what are some of the underlying principles of powerful teacher education. And principles do travel really well around the world. Fixed models don't, but principles, I think, do. So what we're going to do today is explore some of the principles that have guided our work. I want to use the Stanford Teacher Education Program, which I direct and have been directing for 13 years now, as an example, as an instantiation of these principles, and share with you some of our experiences. How you will instantiate, how you will operationalize these principles in your context really depends on you. And we will be very, very happy to know how this work goes together. So the power of principles is great. Principles travel all over the world, and I was very careful to make the globe in this slide in such a way that all continents are represented. I hope you appreciate that. So the Stanford Teacher Education Program, you can see here the mission and the goals of the program. We are quite small. I will leave a minute for people to see the slide. This is our mission, and these are our goals. A little bit about the Stanford Teacher Education Program. You can, of course, visit the website as well and see many more details, our handbooks, our curriculum. Everything is open to you to explore and look at. So please feel free to look at the Stanford Teacher Education website. We are a relatively small program, and it's a 12-month program from June to June. I think what stands out for our program is the fact that there is an unusual amount of teaching experience in the field. It's unusual to have that. So from the first week that the students arrive in June until the end of the year, they have parallel lives. They work in the schools in the morning, they come to the university in the afternoon. And so they are both teacher and students and enter the profession with a lot of good practice in clinic. So they learn about practice in practice and through practice. The other very unique feature of the program is that the program is based at a prestigious Research One university at Stanford University. And for professors who in many ways define the field in the United States and maybe in other parts of the world around the teaching of mathematics, the teaching of history, the teaching of English, the teaching of science, are researchers, and they also teach in the Stanford Teacher Education Program. That is a very unique feature of our program. The four principles that I would like to explore with you today are these four principles. And I formulated them on purpose in the form of testable propositions. So you can decide what you will consider the desirable outcomes of the teacher education program that you work in. And then, I argue, you will find that the quality of those outcomes is related to the connection between theory and practice, to the joint work between the university and the schools, to the extent that the program addresses issues of equity and access, and the degree of programmatic coherence. These are the 4 principles, and I would like to take some examples and illustrate these 4 principles to you through the Stanford Teacher Education Program. The first principle really makes me think about the DNA of teacher education. The DNA of teacher education is this double helix, which is the link between theory and practice. And the little lines, biologists know what those lines are called, I don't, but those little lines that go between the 2 helixes, between the 2 lines, are the assignments that the students perform in the teacher education program. Most, if not all, the assignments that are given at the university really could not be completed if the teacher candidates were not in the field at the same time. So when we talk about this would make a lesson, they plan a lesson, they try it out, they come back and share their experience. When we talk about what do we need to know about adolescents in order to be able to teach them better, they actually write a case study of an adolescent, which is a major, major piece of work. So the assignments are very well designed, signature assignments embedded into curriculum that show these and emphasize the close link between theory and practice. The second principle relates to the strength of the joint work between the university and the schools. And the reason that that is an important principle is because educating the new generation of teachers is really the joint work. We could not, at the university, do our job well if we do not have strong relationships with the schools. How we select the schools, how we select the classrooms in which our students are going to practice is a very effort-intensive, thought-intensive process. And if there are questions about it, I'd be happy to answer. We'll look at some of these criteria that are listed over there and in the slides, and we form close partnerships with schools so that we don't only take from the schools placement, but we also give back to the schools in different ways. It's one of the most critical issues, I think, in teacher education. And in my experience working with other countries, it is also the issue that, or other places, it's also the issue that probably takes the most change in current practices in teacher education. The third principle, which is our efforts to not only teach teachers to build equitable classrooms and also maintain excellent curriculum, is also something that we are intent on practicing what we preach, a really important issue. As you can see, I put up some of the ways in which we here in the program try to practice, as I said, what we preach. We are intent on making sure that our group, our cohort of STEP teacher candidates are a diverse group, that they have diverse experiences, We have young people who are just coming out, the undergraduates. We have second career people. And we have a lot of students with different backgrounds and different ways of contributing to their colleagues. The curriculum is very challenging, and we try, as far as our teaching goes, to model and do what we ask them to do in the classrooms. We try to do it here with them. Very importantly, a very strong ethic of care in the way that Nell Noddings defined care, I think goes throughout the program. We have an open door policy. We have very close advisement and mentoring of our students, both in the field and at the university. And we put in place a lot of scaffolds for their success. The fourth principle, oops, sorry, this is the slide that I should have put up for earlier. Okay. The fourth principle is the degree to which the program has coherence. So when a program is perceived by the students as coherent, meaning that what they experience in the field and what they experience at the university comes together to make sense and is not contradictory, which very often happens, that people in the field say, what you do at the university is not important. Or when people at the university say, what they do in the field is not good enough. You need to listen to us. That puts the students in a very difficult position. So coherence between what happens in the field to them in the morning and what happens to them in the afternoon at the university is very important. Another point of coherence is whether the different courses that they experience give similar messages. Are we actually sharing values? Are we sharing norms? Are we sharing the mission of what the school is about? As Linda Darling-Hammond and John Bransworth said in their book, coherence is really a very important point of teacher education. So, I'm on time. So these are the four principles that we explored very quickly. I would encourage you, if you want to, again, go to the STEP website or email me or email us or come and visit and see how we in STEP have instantiated these four principles that I think we can still continue to learn about and deepen even more.